Drivers, start your engines. You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. welcoming you to taking a lap of the extra mile for today, April 15th, 2021. It's tax day, everybody. Well, not really. They got extended to May 17th due to the pandemic. But still, make sure you get your taxes in. But it's going to be a great weekend as finally, the Indy Car season is starting. Formula One is also finally back after their hiatus due to everyone needing to quarantine after going to Bahrain and all that. And to help me talk about all that, my co-host for the evening, Michael Ward, is here. Michael, good evening. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you today?
I'm doing great on this wonderful, great warm day out here, just 10 minutes outside of the nation's capital. Got some exercise in, got a nice walk in, trying to lose some weight before I go down to Alabama for the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane race this June. Trying to start the weight loss process now because it's going to be hot in Alabama, and I need to lose some weight or else I'm going to be sweating when I get down there.
Oh yeah, very hot place Alabama can be. So I wish you all the luck in your endeavors, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And for some of y'all that are listening, you may know humidity, because here in DC area, at least, we get the humid heat, which feels like you're in a shower. I know where Taryn and all of them are on the West Coast, they get more of the dry heat, but there is nothing, and I mean nothing on this planet that compares with southern humidity summer heat. And I mean southern as in the Gulf states and Florida, because technically Florida touches the Gulf, but that's a whole story for another day. You step outside after 10 minutes, actually not 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you literally feel like you've taken a shower. It is the worst type of heat imaginable.
Definitely. It's really bad, and it feels sticky too.
Yeah. I've been to Florida a couple of times, obviously go to NASCAR races when they were in July, and there's few temperatures that I can say are unbearable, but when it's 95 degrees at 10 in the morning, no wonder y'all state has so many crazy people. Because it's 95 degrees at 10 in the morning. I couldn't deal with that either.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to deal. I would just have to walk around with like a walking air conditioner strapped to my back.
I don't even think the air conditioner would work at that point, because at that point it's just hot. I mean, that's the point where even water doesn't help you. Just don't go outside. But enough about humidity. They didn't have any humidity in Martinsville. That's where we're going to start this week. We'll start with NASCAR. Won't dominate the show this time, but great races in Martinsville once again. Unfortunately, rain once again ends up ruining a NASCAR weekend. And yet again, another marquee race from the best season ever graphic that you've been seeing and the advertising campaign that Fox has been taking on, has been affected by the wet stuff. And it's ironic because we were here a couple weeks ago. NASCAR was testing a rain tire. NASCAR was also testing the manufacturer-specific next-gen cars. Hint, hint. But those two tests were mutually exclusive. Michael, we know they're working on that tire for short ovals, but I think NASCAR has to move forward with getting that tire running on probably everywhere but the super speedways like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. The rain is not going away, and it's killing them in the ratings, and it's definitely killing the momentum for the season when you have all these great races lined up, and then rain says, yeah, nah, you're not doing that.
Yeah, I definitely think they need to put their heads together and get in the R&D department and try to come up with a tire that can work on these mile-and-a-half speedways so that we can enjoy a race without having to worry about, rain interrupting everything. Because, when I have the mindset of a race is about to start and then it doesn't start until X time frame, and it's just a lot to deal with. And then, for some people, they got work the next day, so they can't so they can't watch the race. So I think definitely putting some money, time, and effort into making a rain tire for these mile-and-a-half tracks would be better, so we can get a Sunday race going, get our ratings back, and just enjoy some racing on Sunday instead of having to wait for like Monday or something like that.
I think the worst part about it, the worst part about it from Saturday and Friday for that matter, wasn't even the fact that we didn't get the races started until late. The races were delayed. We got started and then got delayed again due to the rain. The stop-start stuff is the worst, in my opinion. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not going to work, that they shouldn't be worrying about this. They need to do this for several reasons. Number one, we talked about it, the ratings. They got hammered when the Daytona 500, which was trending upwards at the start, got delayed until like 11 o'clock to finish that race. Bristol Dirt, although that's a completely different situation with that rain. Not even a rain tire could deal with that. But for the reason of this conversation, Bristol Dirt ended up having to move both races to Monday. Did not have the ratings that it wanted to. Martinsville at night, Saturday night short track action, had to go up against the Masters on Sunday and got hammered in the ratings. That's three races that could have had great ratings that didn't. NASCAR's going to have to make a change. A lot of people may not want them to attempt this, but they've got to try something. The rain delays cannot continue. I mean, even the Air Titans can't help us from this rain. If it's a steady rain like what we got at Martinsville before, the skies opened up later on, we could at least get the race in, which is what we need to do.
Yeah, like, in my opinion, like, I want to say, like, the best type of tire to work on would be, like, a tire that can last in maybe moderate, like, a small drizzle to maybe, like, moderate rain.
It's like an intermediate, basically.
Yeah, it's not kind of like how F1 has intermediates. Mm-hmm. Because full wets, I don't think that's good. But, a lot of the rain I see sometimes in NASCAR just ends up being maybe moderate to intermediate type rain, not like a, torrential downpour like what happens in F1 sometimes. So I think an intermediate tire for NASCAR would be good, just so that we can get the race going. And if the race gets worse, well, yeah, we have to red flag it. But if it's moderate to, drizzle, then I think we should be pretty good there, which is where I think they should be working on.
Intermediates are the best anyway, because when it starts raining, when we get the full wets, usually we're about a couple of minutes from going yellow flag anyway, because the rain's overpowering the wet tires. When you get heavy rain, like what we've seen, say, with Xfinity ran in last year, I'm surprised that race finished, because that was torrential downpour. I'm surprised that race even got through with the wet tire that they had. So I don't think we'll see that on an oval, but if we can at least have an intermediate where we can at least get the standing water off the track and have the cars run on it with the intermediates for a few laps and then switch to the dries, I think that'll work. But we'll see what happens. We're a long way from that. So go ahead.
Yeah, and then we can have, like, weather play into strategy, because these drivers are going to have to learn how to deal with how we deal in F1, especially in F1 2020, how we have to deal with a, a changing track where they wash all the rubber off, and the drivers are going to have to adapt to cold tires and a track that's drying up, and seeing how the car handles in those different types of environments. I think it would be very exciting.
Yeah, it would, and we'll have to see if NASCAR can get this tire right. It's going to be a little bit longer until we decide. I know when Kyle Larson did the test, he said that it was good to go, but we'll see what NASCAR decides. It may not be until later this season, but they're going to need that tire, especially when we get into the playoffs. Let's talk about the races now a little bit, and we'll start with the Xfinity race, and Josh Berry pulls the upset, passes Ty Gibbs with 20 to go, on lap 223 of the 250-lap event to take the win in the Cookout 250. Berry pulls that win out for every short track ace that never got a chance. He's been hooked up the last couple of years with Junior Motorsports. They got him doing 12 races this year in the 8 car. He's been running extremely well at the start of the season. He's shown that he's got some speed, and I really think that kid, if he can get some sponsorship behind him, is going to win an Xfinity Series championship one day. Michael, it's extremely exciting to see a young guy worked his way up from the late model ranks, got this opportunity, and he makes do with a victory.
Yeah, it's very good to see, and I hope he continues with that endeavor, because it's stuff you want to see from NASCAR, being a sport where you start off from small dirt tracks and you make your way up to the Cup Series. So it's really good to see somebody putting in the work, and the work is actually paying off. So I hope he can continue this as the season goes forward. And it's very good to see a driver that you kind of don't expect, but it's a nice change of pace.
It is nice. And it's nice to see a guy that comes up from the late model ranks, because we talked about this, I think, 1 or 2 years ago. NASCAR's ladder system, and I use that word sparingly, doesn't really work. There's really no set path for a late model guy to come up unless they've got a whole bunch of money or rich parents, which starts a whole nother conversation that we're not even going to get into tonight.
I'm sure a lot of people know what the ladder system is, but I'm not too entirely sure. What's the ladder system?
Well, in Formula One, we'll use them for an example. We'll talk about them in the next segment. There is a set system on how you go from, let's say, junior formulas all the way to F1. You got to work through the lower formula ranks, then get into Formula 3, get into Formula 2, then go into Formula 1.
Right.
Indy Car has a similar system. You go F2000 up to, it used to be Star Mazda, but there's a different car in between there now, into Indy Lights, into Indy Car. And I'll go to the Indy Car site to figure that out real quick, because I do want to give you guys correct information. So it's now the USF 2000 cars, Indy Pro 2000, which I think used to be Star Mazda, and then Indy Lights. How does NASCAR systems work? Darn if I know, because you got guys jumping from K&N West up, K&N East, guys going just from regional series all the way up into the Cup Series. There's no set place where you're supposed to start to come through up to the Cup Series. I said 2 years ago, I think, Michael, you were there for that show, they need a super license system. They need a ladder system where, okay, you start from your local dirt tracks or World of Outlaws and Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. You go into K&N East and West. Then you go into, or it's not K&N East and West anymore, it's ARCA Menards East and West. Then you go to Big ARCA. Then you go to the trucks. Then you go to Xfinity. Then you can go to Cup if you get enough points through there to advance through the ladder system. That's going to bring the talent up. That's going to bring the interest in ARCA and these lower K&Ns, or keep saying K&N because it used to be K&N, into the lower ARCA Menard series because they desperately need a lifeblood, and making them the feeder series into Cup will draw some interest in and hopefully bring more teams in for people, because right now there is no path for the late model guy or the sprint car guy or the dirt super late model guy to go and work his way up gradually. You have to bring the big money, which a lot of people don't have, into the Cup series or into one of the lower tier series. Hopefully things work out there, and maybe you've been able to get a sponsor or cobble enough money together to go into a mid-pack at best Cup ride. But if you have a ladder system, then they can just work on getting the money for the next rung of the ladder instead of not knowing what to do next, because a lot of these guys run a season and then they disappear because the money's run out and there's nowhere to go. So NASCAR has a lot that they need to figure out with this, but they've got to set up some sort of ladder system. And it will take them having to work with these regional organizations, get the points together, because some people might get in their feelings, but that is a story for a whole nother day. And I might just sketch this out and bring it up in a couple of weeks or so about how I think the point system and everything should work.
Sounds intriguing. It's just, I would have to agree with you. It just sounds like there's too many series to draw talent from, and they just need a system where the talent can just go to one specific place and then move up from there. It just sounds like there's too many series to draw from, honestly.
They need a way to get to the top. That's basically the part and parcel of it. And Josh Berry won the race for the Stephen Nash Juniors of the world, and all those guys that have had the dream of going big-time stock car racing and just couldn't find the money or couldn't find the path to do it. So we're going to quickly get into what else happened in the Xfinity race, which was Joe Graf Jr. and Gray Golding got into a fight. Two guys running for 25th got into a fist fight at the end of the race because Golding intentionally wrecked Joe Graf Jr. They then go on Twitter running down each other's accomplishments, which, to be honest, neither has really done much in the Xfinity series. But that was short track racing in essence. One guy's happy and two guys are slugging it out against each other in the pits. It was great. We had a lot of fisticuffs going on. We'll talk about what happened in the Cup series in a minute, but Michael, you just like seeing fights sometimes. That's something we don't see at every racetrack.
Surprised it's not Noah Gragson, but
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Gragson did not get into a fight this week. He gets a gold star next to his name for that.
You've been a good noodle, Noah Gragson.
You've been a good
take your golden star. Oh, man. But yeah, sometimes in NASCAR you need to see a good fight, because sometimes I wish NASCAR did the hockey thing where they're just like, okay, give them space, let them duke it out, and everything's good, then pull them away. But sometimes, and that's kind of why I like that NASCAR is a more of an in-your-face sport. Mm-hmm. More of a sport where contact is, honestly forgiven sometimes, because you guys gotta race hard for their money's worth. So, sometimes if you need a place, your job's on the line, you gotta move the guy out the way. So, I kind of appreciate NASCAR when it gets to the short track, bump and run, gritting, tempers flaring type of racing, because it's great to see drivers having such raw emotion, and inside we just see them as these calm and compelled race car drivers, but in reality they can be human just like we can.
Yep. And we have another altercation we have to get to. We're going to talk about that after the break, because we're actually right up against it. But folks, we got to thank some sponsors, and I've been talking about them for months now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want your financial wealth firing on all cylinders, hit up my friends at Legacy Financial. They have everything that you need to get your financial system set up on all cylinders and running straight for the checkered flag. This is Financial Literacy Month, so make sure you hit up Andrew and Io at 510-928-2104 and follow them on Twitter at Legacy_Uncut. Thank you so much to Legacy Financial for being a sponsor of The Extra Mile here on IE Sports Radio. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into how the Cup Series wrapped up at Martinsville and also talk about IndyCar. The season is finally ready to start. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. You are listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back right here on The Extra Mile, right here on IE Sports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. Daryl and Michael with you. Christopher's still on his way. He's on baby duty right now, so we may hear from him later on in the program. We're going to jump over to the Cup race quickly before we get into our IndyCar preview. The race was dominated by a couple of factors. First, felt more like a short track race, all the beating banging going on. Back in the field, Corey LaJoie and James Davidson got into it, which caused Davidson to say some not nice things on the radio about Ware after Cody Ware just dumped him for no reason. Ware also had 3 cautions during the race, which caused Mike Joy to be exasperated on the call when he saw that for the 8th caution of the race, Cody Ware had once again gone around, which has brought up a question as to whether or not certain drivers should be in the Cup Series. And Michael, this kind of goes back to the conversation we just had about the super license system. You got a lot of guys coming up. A lot of them just aren't ready for Cup. And Cody Ware, honestly, looks like a guy that's not ready to be in this series.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, sounds like he needed a few more years in Xfinity, just running that series for a little bit more, and then, once he wises up and has some more experiences and develops more skill, he can move up to Cup. I guess in our new more of a ladder, I think the average NASCAR driver should spend at least 2 years, 2 maybe 3 years in Xfinity before going into Cup, just so that they can develop. Unless, they've proven that they have the talent and, the prospect to go straight into NASCAR. But, that's a topic for another debate.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. But Cody, not a good day for him. On the other side, the usual suspects showed up at this race. Chase Elliott ran well. Denny Hamlin dominated the event, but it was Martin Truex Jr. who took home the grandfather clock, who none of us had. Somebody should have picked him, as he has now won 3 of the last 4 at Martinsville. Truex ended up taking the lead with 20 laps to go as Denny Hamlin's car started to go away on the handling. Hamlin still ended up finishing he ended up finishing second on the day. I'm sorry, but still a good run he finished third on the day because Chase Elliott finished second. Sorry about that. I second guessed myself for no reason. Still a good day for Hamlin, although he really would have wanted that win. He has run 8 races this season. He has 7 top 5s. Hamlin is doing a Hamilton-esque performance just with top 5s instead of wins, Michael.
And again, that's kind of the reason why I like Denny Hamlin. He's just consistently up there. I would love for him to put all that consistency together and get a championship. God, I would love it. But just hasn't happened yet. But that's one of the things that makes Denny Hamlin just such a great NASCAR driver. He's just so consistent.
He's been consistent for years, but he's also been consistently short in bringing up the championship. And at this point with Denny Hamlin, it doesn't matter the wins. It doesn't matter the Daytona 500s. His Hall of Fame resume is missing that championship. And that's not to say he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame without it. I think Hamlin's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But his cause gets stronger with just one championship with how well he's run. He's really become, honestly, Michael, this generation's Mark Martin. Mark Martin ran well for decades in NASCAR and just could not bring home that championship. And I think Hamlin's resume is going to supplant Mark Martin's as having the dubious distinction of being the best driver to never win a championship.
Yeah, and you hate to see that type of stat because it's just so many good drivers, good race winners. You know, you got Mark Martin, you got Dale Earnhardt Jr. So many good talent and just no championship to show for it. It's, you know, sometimes I want to put drivers like Ryan Newman into that category. It's just so many great drivers, just no championship to show for it. And it's just, you hate to see it, honestly.
You really do. Even in IndyCar, where we saw Helio Castroneves retire without a championship, like that's heartbreaking when you see drivers that good never take home the season-long championship. Now, Helio has won 3 Indy 500s. I don't think he's trading one of those for a championship, but you still want to see those guys take home the season-home championship. Helio's going for that 4th Indy 500, though, so that might help soothe that gaping hole in his resume a little bit better, but we'll see what happens this May. But Hamlin's got another chance for the championship. For his sake, I hope he clinches it because you don't get a lot of opportunities to win a championship, and eventually he's going to hit that wall that all the veterans hit. I think Harvick is hitting it right now because he's not doing well.
I think Harvick and all of Stewart Haas is hitting that wall right now. Like, have you noticed how Stewart Haas has not been up there?
They have not been good this year. They really have not. And I don't know how to explain it. Maybe Clint Boyer was the missing piece over there.
I don't know, but it's just compared to how they were doing last year to now, it's abysmal, Daryl. It's just they're in the mid-pack. What's going on?
They're struggling as a team. This is similar to what Hendrick went through. They just don't have the speed right now, and I think it's something fundamentally wrong with how they're doing their cars. Unfortunately, they're not going to get a lot of opportunity to figure this out because we don't have tests, or we don't have practice, and we don't have qualifying. We're not going to get that back to the new car in 2022. So for right now, they're kind of stuck as far as trying to figure it out, because the only time they can figure it out really is during the week, and hopefully it works when they line up to race. If not, it's going to be more of the same, unfortunately. But we'll talk about more when it comes to NASCAR at the end of this show. We're going to transition now to IndyCar. Michael, it feels like forever since this season was going to start, but finally, the IndyCar season is here, and it starts this weekend in Alabama.
Yeah, what is it? Barbara Motorsports Park, right? It's one of my favorite racetracks, and I can't wait for it to start. It felt like forever. I know they have an iRacing series going on right now, but I just want to see some good old fashioned cars on the track going at it. I want to see if Scott Dixon can defend his championship from last year, because that man was dominant last year.
Yeah,
so I want to see if anybody can mount a proper challenge to this man this year.
Yeah, man, he's going to be going for number 7 this year. I think he will have some challengers. There's a strong field of drivers, of course, in IndyCar right now. You've got James Hinchcliffe returning. Colton Herta, who was on a tear last season, he's going to have championship ambitions. Ryan Hunter-Reay is still around. You've got, of course, the Penske guys of Newgarden and Pagenaud. Those two, and Will Power as well. Can't leave him out. He's going to be pushing for a championship. Alexander Rossi wants to rebound from that absolutely disgusting amount of bad luck that he had in 2020. If you want to take the year that was 2020, the year that shall never be spoken of again, and you want to boil it down into one example, Alexander Rossi's season. Because he would do so well in races just to have the worst luck imaginable happen to him. He's going to be pushing for the championship. That's where we get to the rookies that are coming in this season. We've got 8 guys, I think, that could win the championship just from who I just named. It's going to be a slugfest this season. I don't think Dixon is going to have it as easy as he did last year. And even Robin Miller, doing his preview article, has Pato O'Ward going out and winning some races. So you could have 8 or 9 guys, Michael, running for the IndyCar Championship this year.
Yep, 8 or 9 fast drivers. It's going to be a close. Well, hopefully it's going to be a close season. Who's to say Scott Dixon might just go God mode and just destroy everyone again? But I think it's going to be a close season. You got too much talent, too many good talent to just not have an interesting season. So I think this season's going to be good. And, the first race can't come quick enough, Daryl.
Yep, and we've got a couple of rookies coming into the series, as there's always a rookie class here with IndyCar. And these are some names I was not expecting to read to be on an NTT Data IndyCar Series grid. Jimmy Johnson and Roman Grosjean are going to be racing IndyCar this season. Jimmy Johnson, he needs no introduction. This generation's great.
The fresh new driver, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, NASCAR's greatest of all time.
I was going to make him sound like a completely new driver.
Sorry.
The rookie Jimmy Johnson, the completely new driver. We don't know who that is, right, Daryl?
I'm pretty sure I have no idea who that guy is. I think he did something in NASCAR. I don't remember how that worked
some
out.
Stuff for Rick Hendrick. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, we'll see how.
But this man Roman Grosjean, though, man, what a legend! All right, Ayrton Senna could never.
Okay, stop. I'm going to stop you right there. But seriously, this is an exciting rookie class headed by a 10-time F1 podium member and a 7-time NASCAR champion. Now, Jimmy Johnson is not running the entire schedule. He won't run the ovals this year, but he will run the lion's share of events. Roman, I believe, is running the entire schedule, so he'll be with us for the balance of the season. It's going to be exciting to see how these guys get on. Here's what I would say about Jimmy Johnson. Do not be surprised if he's slow. It's not a slight against him. He's got to come up to the technology of this car. Let's be honest. He's been driving a pig with steel brakes for most of his career. Now he's got to get used to carbon fiber everything, which is a completely different can of worms. So the car stops different. It takes corners different, carries a lot more speed through those corners as well. There's a lot more G-forces going through the body. No power steering, by the way. So that's something he's got to get used to. Jimmy's going to have a learning curve. It's a lot easier to go up in speed than back, of course. But he's still going to have a learning curve. Expect him to struggle the first couple of rounds. Like, that's not a slight against his ability. And honestly, at this point, he has nothing else to prove to anyone. This is just him going out and having fun. So it really doesn't matter about wins or losses. Did Jimmy have fun? That's all that really matters.
Yeah, he has 7 championships 7 championships. I thought it was 8, but 7 championships. So if I was in his case, being one of the greatest of all time in my series, I would just go have fun too. So I think honestly, a lot of these races are gonna be a learning experience, but ultimately, I think he's just out there to have fun, like you said.
It'll be fun. Cannot wait to see him get racing. That's going to be this weekend at Alabama. One of their favorite courses. It has turned into the jewel of the South in terms of road course racing. Great elevation changes at Alabama. It's a tight circuit, so you're not going to see a lot of side-by-side action, but this is a track that is going to put drivers through the test all weekend long. We got practice on Saturday, the races on Sunday. Michael, Indy Car's finally back. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. This track is, oh my God, I love this track. I love this track for IndyCar, and I love it even more for IMSA. It's just a crazy tight circuit, like you said, elevation changes, and it just makes the racing so much more dramatic.
Speaking of IMSA, we've got to get them back to Alabama. I don't know why I know they don't come here anymore with the Grand Am IMSA split. They have got to get back to this racetrack in the Honda, or even if it's not on the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama weekend, just have their own weekend would be great at Alabama Motorsports Park.
Oh, definitely. Seeing those guys try to get through the traffic on such a tight course, oh man, it's magical. I'm telling you.
So we can't not wait. The season will get unofficially started with practice at 11 a.m. You can watch all of that on Peacock, which I'll be watching. I have Peacock Premium, so I'll be taking a look at that. They'll have practice at 11 and 2:40 p.m. Qualifying will start at 5:50, and the race, the Honda Grand Prix Alabama, can be seen at 3:30 p.m. on Sunday on NBC. Cannot wait to get the season started. Well, we're going to take another quick break, but before we do, gotta say thank you to the SoCal Warriors who sponsor IE Sports Radio, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. If you want to go out and check out some of their games, go and head over to SoCalWarriors2021.wixsite.com. They are hosting the PCFC Championship game. They'll be this Saturday at Moretta Mesa High, the LC Riptide versus the High Desert Rams. So you want to check that out, you can go over to SoCalWarriors2021.com or SoCalWarriors2021.wixsite.com for more information. Thank you so much to the Southern California Warriors for sponsoring IE Sports Radio. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into F1, a little bit more of NASCAR before we say goodbye. We're finally going to race again in Formula One, and NASCAR heads to Richmond during the day for once. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the colleges, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
And we are back here on IE Sports Radio. You're listening to The Extra Mile. Daryl and Michael with you. Here on the show, we're going to get into the F1 side of things, and we are finally getting ready for their season to begin. Had a 3-week layoff due to traveling back from Bahrain and having to have the mandatory 2-week quarantine and all of that. We're now going into Italy for the F1 Pirelli Gran Premio del Made in Italia de Emilia Romagna 2021. I butchered that completely. I apologize for our Italian speakers out there, but they've shortened it to the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, so that's what we will refer to it as. Racing at Imola once again, and folks believe that it has advantaged Red Bull coming into this weekend after their strong showing at Bahrain, despite Lewis Hamilton picking up the win. I want to ask you, Michael, is Red Bull the team to beat this weekend?
Possibly, Daryl. Imola is a really, aero-driven circuit, so I think they have the advantage. But Red Bull's always been good in the corners, so who knows, Daryl? They might actually have the advantage here.
So it's going to be round 2 of the Verstappen versus Hamilton scrap, and it's nice to finally get a 2-team battle for the championship. And there is a caveat. There is rain in the forecast for Sunday. So, Michael, this race just got a lot more interesting if it's going to be with the intermediate tires for that race.
Yeah, it would be really interesting, but I still kind of picture it as advantage Red Bull because not only are they good in corners, but their cars have been noticeably throughout the years really good in the wet. So I still think it might be advantage Red Bull.
Yeah, but I don't think you can count out Lewis Hamilton. We saw where he had a good car, or he had a better car against him, and he stepped up to the plate. They ran actually a pretty good strategy for him. Unfortunately, Bottas, they had issues with changing the tires, but Hamilton got the lead. He had older tires, was able to hold off Verstappen, and he may have been lucky with how they called the track limits rules, which there's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately, but Hamilton still took the win. I think having this challenge in Max Verstappen is going to bring Lewis to another level because he's in decidedly the car that's at a disadvantage. Now he's going to be able to actually prove himself, not people just going and say, oh, well, it's just the car that's making him good.
Yeah, I think he's going to step up to that challenge, and I'm not going to rule him out indefinitely. He's a 7-time world champion for a reason, so I'm not going to count him out, but I'm definitely going to say he's going to have a challenge this year, hopefully.
So
you never know how the development game is going to go.
And that's the thing. What development pieces did they bring to the track? Because Mercedes, they know they're in trouble. So I expect them to have iterated on that car in the last few weeks. We'll see what they bring when practice starts tomorrow. But they're on the back foot, which is interesting to see. And that means a lot of the mistakes that they could get away with, like the pit road shenanigans that for some reason always seem to affect Valtteri Bottas more than anybody else, that's going to possibly cost them points and could cost them a Constructors' Championship. But it may be the fact that now that they are more focused because they have an opponent, they may not make as many mistakes, or they could make more mistakes due to the fact that for the last few years, they've been running opposed for both championships. So it's going to be interesting to see how Mercedes can acclimate themselves to the fact that they're in a fight and they have to come from behind if they're going to win it. However, they also have to focus on when they're going to flip into developing for 2022. So this sets up an interesting dynamic where Mercedes may have to leverage, or not leverage, but they may have to sacrifice the long term to try and win the championship, or they may have to make a decision to sacrifice the short term to leverage continued long-term success with 2022 and beyond. So they find themselves in a real pickle heading into the rest of the season.
Yeah, honestly, I would just focus on next year's car, to be honest with you. They've done so well these God knows how long, these really long years of just Mercedes dominance. So I wouldn't put it past them if they decide to develop next year's car. And, Hamilton, he can squeeze out performance in just about anything he drives. So I think we'll have a good championship fight. On the other hand, though, I still think Hamilton may, retire this season. And, if he does that, that's going to throw the whole world of F1 in a loop. So it just depends on how well the season goes. If, we're looking at, Hamilton 8th-time champion, or Hamilton walks away a 7th-timer.
We will see what happens as we look at the Imola weather report right now for Sunday. 71% chance for rain around noon, goes down to 44% about 3 o'clock. The race is scheduled to start at about 9 a.m. our time, which is 3 o'clock their time. So about 40% chance of rain, going down to about 24% during the entire race. And both of you guys saying putting Everett into next year's car. I don't think you can sacrifice this year's championship, though, just for everything that's going to mean for your number one driver. Lewis Hamilton has an opportunity to become the undisputed greatest of all time. He's broken all of Michael Schumacher's records except one, the championship. He's tied it at 7. He wins the championship this season. He has 8. He rides off into the sunset, the GOAT. I don't see them giving up on Lewis winning that championship unless they're just completely out of it by midseason. But it's going to be a challenge. I think the rain is going to neutralize, though, a little bit of the speed advantage for Red Bull. And everyone likes to talk about how good Max Verstappen is in the rain. Lewis Hamilton is also a really good rain racer. So it's going to be an exciting fight. I cannot wait to get things started. And it's going to be a great Grand Prix at Imola. And you can watch that on ESPN2 this weekend. So cannot wait to see how Formula One shakes out. We'll go down the grid, of course. The midfield battle, Michael, is absolutely positively on fire this season. The entire grid, except for Haas, extremely tight together. And I cannot wait to see the slugfest that's going to be McLaren versus Ferrari versus AlphaTauri versus Aston Martin versus Alfa Romeo versus Alpine versus Williams going into this weekend, because you've got teams in Renault and Alfa Romeo that want points. Aston Martin wants more points, and McLaren and Ferrari, they're trying to build on their advantages, sitting 3rd and 4th in the points championship. There's going to be a lot of jockeying for a position all through the grid on Sunday.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great race for the midfield. But what thing might be confirmed though is he who shall not be spoken of may just spin in the first two corners again. So take that as you will.
Yeah, that could throw a whole monkey wrench into the situation. Also, I want to see how Mick Schumacher is going to do. Did not have a good start in his first year. His first race at Bahrain. Both cars ended up crashing. Or both cars ended up spinning.
I think it's just kind of along for the ride, to be honest with you, because they're not developing that car at all.
That's the problem, though. They're going to fall further behind. And they said they could challenge Williams. You're not going to be able to challenge Williams when Williams is, doing the thing of upgrading the car and you're not. So they better hope this works out or it's going to cause even more issues for them in 2022.
Right.
So that is not, of course, the only race going on this weekend. NASCAR heading to Richmond during the day, differentiating this race from the playoff race that will be at night. The action track that a lot of people have not seen a lot of action at. This track usually, though, tends to run better during the daytime, a little bit greasier of a surface at Richmond. We'll take a look at the weather, of course, for them as well, because we've had a lot of issues with the wet stuff this weekend, or this season with NASCAR. So Richmond, Virginia weather, not a cloud in the sky, only a 10% chance of rain, 4% by race time, which means it's probably going to be a deluge, knowing how NASCAR goes. But we should get the season in, or we should get the race in, rather. This is going to be an exciting race. I expect the short track aces to still be up front, but there's some drivers, especially those two new teams, 2311 Trackhouse, going to try to make some movement to get some points, and also got some drivers missing wins that desperately want to get one. We haven't seen Brad Keselowski take home a win. Actually, let me check that before I start saying that, because I've been wrong before on who does and who does not have the wins. We're going over to the standings, and no, the two does not have a win. I keep second guessing myself for no reason. So there's guys like Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott that still need to get a win. They're going to start getting a little bit desperate because we're starting to get to that midseason, Michael. This is where you really need to make the push as far as grabbing those all-important points for playoff seeding.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have some repercussions for the championship, and I definitely can't wait to see who's going to step up to the plate at Richmond. This season's been so surprising, Daryl. Just so many different winners. So I don't want to see a repeat winner. I know Martin Truex was our first repeat winner, but I want to see somebody new step up to the plate.
It would be nice. We've already had 7 winners that we didn't expect to see. So we've had 7 different winners. We could get number 8 this week, and we could figure that out. And we're going to see if there's going to be a number 8 because we're going to pick for nearest the win right now. We've got 3 races to pick for the first time this season. NASCAR at Richmond, F1 at Imola, Indy Car in Alabama. Christopher's already got his picks, so we'll read those off. He's got Martin Truex Jr. in NASCAR, Dixon in Alabama, and Max Verstappen taking the win in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. I'm sorry, that's far too long of a name for an F1 GP, what they've done over there. As for myself, I think Rossi is going to get the bad luck off of him in week number 1. He's going to take the win in Alabama. Give me Chase Elliott to take the win in Richmond. And for Formula 1, I'm also going to go Max Verstappen. Michael, who you got?
All right, so for me, I'm going to go with one of my favorite IndyCar drivers this season. I think he starts it off this year with a bang. I'm going to go with one of the Penske squad, and that's Joseph Newgarden, and I think he's going to do really great this weekend. The next driver for F1, I'm going to actually go with Verstappen. I think he's going to do really good at Emilia-Romagna GP. And For NASCAR, that's a hard one. Because I've kind of used my short track ace there. I'm going to go with. I'm gonna go with Truex.
All right, so those are our picks for nearest to win. Remember, if you want to play nearest to win, hit us up, hashtag nearest to win, with your picks on who's going to win this weekend. The current point standings look like this, with Michael with 5, Taryn and Collins tied for second with 4, Christopher Lehman, Matt Owens tied with 3 points apiece for fourth. I am in fifth with 2 points. Matt White, Larry, and Couch all have 1 point, and Seth Eves still waiting to score this season. That is your nearest to wins standings. And now it is time for us to get out of here. Remember, if you want to talk to us during the week, Michael's at Michael_War25. I'm at DK Jr. 12. Christopher's at Fiji Sims. Remember, if you missed any episode of any IE Sports Radio show, to hit up anywhere podcasts can be heard from. Also, make sure to follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as iesportsradio.com. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening for this episode of The Extra Mile. For Michael, we'll see Christopher next week. I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.